Hi, I'm Pat Lamb, and you're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate. Enjoy.
You're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate, a Bristol Bears podcast made by fans for fans. We're three friends who love the club, the game, and all things Bears. Well, boys, we've convened an emergency Sunday morning pod. There was some chat that we were going to struggle to do one this weekend, and we're going to do a double header after the Bordeaux game next Sunday. But after the events of yesterday, I think we felt that we ought to mark the occasion. So it's going to be a fairly quick Zoom pod. We have actually got a limited amount of time on my account because it's only a free one. But well done, boys, for getting up. And of course, Bristol Bears lads were playing at altitude yesterday, and we've now forced Miles to go to altitude in his house to go up to the loft, do his Zoom. So well done, Miles. Great.
It's a bit less hot up here, mate. I mean, it's only about, 7 metres above sea level, I think.
Yeah. Well, look, what I thought we'd do is we'll start with a few facts and figures just to sort of focus on what happened yesterday, and then we can talk about it. So basically, from my quick research this morning, we scored our 61 points was actually after 60 minutes. We didn't actually score again for 20 minutes. So that was a pretty point a minute up to 60 minutes. Obviously, we were away from home. We were in South Africa. We travelled across hemispheres. We'd gone from the depths of winter to the middle of summer. We were on the high veld, 4,000 feet above sea level, and we scored 9 tries, and Tom Jordan converted 8 of them. We also got the fastest try bonus point in the history of the competition. And then Noah Heward got a hat trick with 2, and we've got to remember this, lung busting half the length of the pitch tries, as well as a kind of insane rugby league. So that in itself is incredible statistic, because, you know, it's not the sort of thing you do at sea level, let alone 4,000 feet up. So, and as I was listening to the commentary this morning, and as the commentator said, at some point during the game, it must have been some point in the first half, because that's where a lot of it all happened, was the Bulls have been punctured below the waterline and are sinking fast. So, yeah. Lee, you were watching it yesterday, I know, live with Miles at your place. What are your comments on the game yesterday?
We certainly were, Miles, weren't we? I turned the heating on full whack, and we rehydrated with a load of beers from the tap room. So we tried to recreate the environment, mate, in Pretoria. When the team sheets come out, I was actually quite confident.
Yeah.
I don't know why, in all honesty, but I put some money on us, and when that game started, I don't know how we're going to dissect it in the time that we've got, but it was unbelievable, wasn't it? I mean,
one of the extra stats I should have said in that intro was that they also had 10 Springboks in the starting 15 as well.
Yes.
And so hence your early shout of you were positive about it was perhaps against the grain as well. So even better prediction that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, I don't know where the confidence came from, but I just felt that we were brewing up for a big one. Do you know what I mean? Like, what we now unbeaten 7, 1-7 on the spin.
Yeah.
And I just think if we can't go in, with confidence fully high after that, then we never ever will we?
And I think they went out on Monday, didn't they? So they went out. So they took it really seriously. They obviously must have got all the prep right as well, and given us as much time as we could to acclimatise at that level, get used to being out there, and maybe, just maybe, having like Bernard in the team as well, just kind of soften the blow of having to go away to a place. Because I was looking at a stat from Neil Williams, Rugby Stato, and the only ever time we've been on the South African continent was some tour game to Zimbabwe back in the day. So we've never played in South Africa, and we've never played in Pretoria. We've never played in Loftus, whatever, I can't remember what it's called now. The stadium. So there was a lot going against us, but I think we should right away hold our hands up to both the backroom staff in terms of like the physios, the health, the doctors, but also obviously the coaching team who did something to inspire the boys. Lee,
I'm glad you mentioned stats, because I said to Miles yesterday, really, I mean, I love stats. I'm a stat man, but I would say stats really, they're historical stats. You know, they mean nothing in
Mm.
the present day and age, and you know they're there to be turned around. They're used as a guide to what's happened, you know, in the past, but they bear no relevance to what happens in the present, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, really good point. Well, so Miles, you must have been barely containing yourself in that first half as try after try popped in. But to be honest, were you still? I know this is a terrible thing to say, but I know there'll be a lot of supporters out there
Yeah.
at that halftime score, which was insane. I can't remember what it was at halftime now. It was like, so did you still have a bit of a niggly worry at the back of your head
Yeah,
about the result?
I'm afraid so. Yeah, I mean, we're Bears fans. This is ingrained in our DNA, isn't it? A worry that we might let things slip, and that our play is so loose that teams can run around us. I mean, you're right. I agree with you boys. The conditions were brutal for the lads. It was like 27 degrees. They were wearing, I don't know what the highest factor sun cream you can ever get out there is, but they was white as sheets. And to add to that, we couldn't figure out why they'd taken their white away strip, and I now suspect because it sort of deflects the heat of the sun more than that black
Yeah,
European strip. That's the only thing I can
very
think.
clever.
And it
Yeah,
was
very good
this
point.
hot. It was that hot. They were having constant water breaks, and hilariously, you know, Louis Rees-Zammit, obviously something going wrong with his HIA protocol. His job, well played as he is, was holding an umbrella to give the boys some shade during water break. It was just brilliant. And there were so many umbrellas, and I get it. The conditions were brutal. The attack was so fast. My lungs were pumping just sitting in Lee's flat, really trying to keep up. But you're right, 47-28 up half time, and 11 tries already scored. I still think Lee and I agreed that we needed one or two more tries in the second half to put it to home, and we were still quietly confident, but not overconfident. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, they scored again, didn't they? They did start to come back a little bit, but actually, this is one of the things that I think is a difference between us this season and maybe past seasons is that when the momentum has shifted a little bit, we have been able to get the momentum back again, and I do think that comes, you know, you bit of luck sometimes, but it also comes from just like hard work and relentless effort. And I think this was just another game of all the kind of the dirty little things being done really, really well as all the amazing things. Lee, what are you going to say?
I just wanted to back that up actually, Pete. The thing for me was the forwards. I mean, they did give us the platform for the backs to be able to do what they do so well. And without that, I mean, I think me and Miles probably both agree we're a bit worried about the scrums. You know, obviously, as we say, the 10 Springboks in their team, you know, I mean, the South Africans are physical, you know, but like week on week now, we keep saying we're matching these teams physically, and the forwards were absolutely brilliant. And we can't underestimate the job that they did for, you know, for the backs to be able to perform in the way they did.
I mean, I was doing a bit of. I felt as though I had to catch up on a bit of social mediaing this morning because you boys did a bit yesterday on our account, and I read a Planet Rugby report of the game, and it was quite interesting because there was a quote in it, and I'm just finding it on my phone. Yeah, this is it. It was basically, it said, this is from Planet Rugby, the online. It said the stats don't tell the tale of just how good Bristol were up front. A dominant display at ruck and breakdown, coupled with some wonderful ambition from the Bristol forwards, saw them run in 9 tries, a performance that defined the DNA of Pat Lam's thrilling approach to rugby. Noah Heward will take the plaudits in the back line, a brilliant hat-trick featuring what will undoubtedly be the finish of the season. But at the heart of everything was that Bristol forward effort, led by their tight five and orchestrated by a brilliant personal display by the criminally underrated Bears open side, Fitz Harding, who personified their pace and ambition. Now, if that is a fantastic summary of where we are this season. And I actually reposted that out with little that little eye emoji saying, "Is Steve Borthwick watching?" Because
yeah.
It was another phenomenal display. But I mean, on the back of that, I looked at the stats quickly. I mean, our line out was 94% success rate. Our scrum, okay, was 80% success, but that was the area we were going to struggle with. But our ruck success was 75, and we had 7 turnovers from rucks and mauls to their 2. So again, but it isn't just that grunt. It's the fact that we've got hard forwards and soft hands, and we've got guys that can do running lines that are as good as centres, like Kloska, Laheath, Genji. These guys, they're like backs when they get going. Miles, what are you going to say?
Yeah. I mean, we looked at the stats at the beginning of the game. They had something like an over 50 kilogram advantage in our pack. And Lee and I were like, this is going to be hard work. But, we dominated in nearly every ruck. They had no idea how to stop our quick ball play. You're right. Our spelt of hands in the forwards was just sublime, and they had no answer to it whatsoever. We could argue, okay, Akker van der Merwe and some few seasoned internationals came on in the last sort of 15 minutes, and we did lose a few scrum penalties, didn't we? And it was a bit of a squeaky bum moment. But I think up until sort of 70 minutes, I think we were totally at parity with them. And you could say even dominated. I totally agree with that piece in Planet Rugby. We were just great.
And I mean, I think, we're in such a good place when you think about the beginning of the season with the injuries and all that sort of stuff. And there is still this lingering kind of lazy punditry about Bristol being a kind of fling it around sort of team, and that, we're not really serious sort of contenders. But I think we are serious contenders for, well, at the moment, I mean, Austin Healey, did you see what he put on the... Bristol could win this. This is Austin who hates us, and he hates us particularly, our podcast, as we know, because he said he'll never go on it because you blooming wound him up, Miles. But despite you winding him up when we met him at the beer factory, he's still on our side. But then there was, I don't know if, again, something I posted out from Premier Sports, our friend Claire, who's obviously got a gig on Premier Sports as well as TNT. She was interviewing Tom Shanklin and Lawrence Dallaglio straight after the game, who were obviously punditing, and they were talking about, have Bristol got a real chance of winning the Champions Cup? And Tom Shanklin said, they are brilliant, they're doing really well, but are they consistent? And then Dallaglio goes, they're doing well, but is their set piece good enough for the... And I'm like, boys, we're on a 7-win run here. If that's not consistent, what is? And also, we've got some of the best set piece stats in the Premier League at the moment in terms of line. Ogray is clearly the best hooker, I'd say now, in the Prem. He is accurate. He's big. He's a scrummager. And, we've got Rubiolo and Batley, who I would say is a combo now. I've got to be the best second row. We've got Ellis Genge, who is, as Ben Young said on his pod on the For Love of Rugby this week, said, is Ellis Genge in the best form of any rugby player in the whole world at the moment? We've got Fitz Harding, who we know. We've got Big Bill Mata. We've got Santi Grondona and Pedro Rubiolo, who are serious heft merchants. And people are questioning whether we've got... And so, I mean, obviously there's many variables. But if you were just looking at it at the moment, why not?
Well, I mean, I personally stopped listening to Dallaglio a while ago, as you boys know. But, all the above, everything you just mentioned is the whole reason I want people to do that.
Yeah.
I want people to keep putting us down because Pat doesn't need team talks.
No.
All they've got to do is listen to these, so-say seasoned, ex-professionals talking, and, Pat's team talk's already written. It's done. So I'm more than happy for us to be written off by every other, in my own opinion, plonkers. And then we'll just, we'll quietly go about our job. And I agree with you, Pete. I honestly, genuinely think that we've got it this season to win some silverware, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we've still got Gabsy Bitoye to come back at some point. We got Lewis Rees-Zammit, who obviously sat out yesterday, who's still really fundamentally available. We've got 2 games until the Six Nations break. So we've got Bordeaux next weekend, which we'll talk about in a sec. And then we've got Chiefs away, which is our kind of random Prem game before the Six Nations break. So we've got 2 massive games, I think, that we keep I personally think we keep firing at all cylinders on.
Yeah.
Just a couple of other things about the game yesterday. It was a very low attendance as far as I could see. There was virtually, the crowd was very low, and somebody might use
Yeah.
that against us and say, oh, the South African teams don't really care about the Champions Cup. But I bet those boys on the
Oh, that's
pitch cared about the
nonsense.
fact they were getting their arse whipped by Bristol. But it was a bit
I mean,
disappointing, I thought, wasn't it?
it was. I mean,
Yeah,
if they didn't,
did anyone know? Did anyone?
No,
Sorry, Miles. Did anyone know the attendance
I
or
tried
not?
to, I've been trying to look it up this morning. I couldn't
no.
find it.
I mean,
Um,
Yeah.
I agree. Worryingly, I think someone put on a stat. It's a 51,000 capacity stadium, and it just look. I mean, we were wondering who does anyone else play there? How do they fill that size stadium?
I, I
You know,
think they do when
if
it's a derby game, when they had last
okay.
week, they played the Stormers or something. But
But if you can't get the juices flowing and the crowds in, when you've got 10 Springboks starting in your starting 15, then I agree. It doesn't look great for South African sort of club rugby, does it?
Well, there is a kind of debate about the fact that they like being in the United Rugby, the URC, because it gives them proper competition, and they wouldn't have it otherwise. But because of that, they have to be in the Champions Cup, and they don't really care about it. And you can't. I know I've heard this on other pods. They're like, say, we'll kick them out of the Champions Cup because they don't take it seriously. But of course, they're saying, well, you can't have one or the other if we've got them in the league. But I actually think, you know what, if they should step up a little bit more, Lee.
I just want to say, actually, they're not doing very well in the URC anyway,
No.
are they?
No.
So, you know what I mean? But they're a professional outfit, and the South Africans. So personally, I think that's all nonsense. I think once they take to the field, they like all professionals, they play to win.
What else? I was just going to say one thing that was pointed out quite a lot was someone on social media actually was that when the game was won and they were pumping our line right at the end and it was into the red. And Pedro Rubiolo made some unbelievable kind of wrestling move to hold the ball up on the line, to deny them a losing bonus point. And you can't, do you know what? That's kind of innate into someone like him's personality. That this guy, I mean, I cannot say this more often, that we keep saying that this guy goes 80 minutes all the time against anybody. The more we look at Rubiolo, the more I think what an incredible signing that was, and what an amazing player. And I think him and Grondona as a kind of combo, their role in that pack. Again, going back to Delalio saying, "Oh, have we really got the pack for it?" We have got those. We've got the heft. That I think there'll be Premiership clubs be looking at our pack and thinking, "God, how lucky Bristol are to have these guys." And then Joe Owen. Joe Owen's now reached 50 caps out of nowhere, hasn't he? And he's clearly. I mean, I just think. We always got to keep our fingers crossed because rugby's such a fickle game and injuries and whatever. But, I cannot quite believe where we are at this point in the season compared to what it was like after 20 minutes against Tigers when we had those 3 injuries and so on. I mean, anything else you boys want to mention? Any players, any turning points? Lee, you go first.
Well, we are going to get absolutely beasted if we don't mention a couple of things. First of all, first try for Yancey on his home soil. I thought that was really fitting. That was a beautiful thing to start the game off for the first try. Miles, do you want to take the second one that I was thinking about? Noah Heward?
Oh, it was ridiculous. I mean, if any people haven't seen the highlights, go back and watch them. I mean, the young lad, as we said, scored a hat-trick. I don't know how his legs and his lungs actually carried him forward. Those one great interception. And I mean, and it was almost an amazing Harlem Globetrotters-esque sort of like diving swan tap down in the corner as well. I mean, the boy was absolutely on fire. And we were just saying yesterday, he's in the form of his life, come back from a hammy injury. And, I think it's going to be hard to replace him. He was just absolutely brilliant, wasn't he, in sort of all areas. And his defence is so good as well. So, that's sort of what I know. He got man of the match, and rightly so, but the whole team played as a whole. But he was quite key in, a lot of our great tries yesterday.
I'm going to take the last one. We all know it was a brilliant team performance. To a man, everyone played brilliant. But I really felt Kieran Marmion was the key to everything that we did going forward. He was like on the ball constantly, and he was shifting it left, he was shifting it right. And as Miles said earlier, they didn't have a clue. Bulls did not have a clue where we were going with the ball, and Marmion for me was absolutely outstanding.
Well, I saw something on social media, and it got me thinking. Was that they were saying was Andy Farrell watching? I mean, Ireland, not a little bit in the doldrums, maybe at a crossroads. Marmion has been capped in the past, but is there a better Irish scrum half at the moment? Playing across all the leagues, and I mean, I don't really want him to get picked by Ireland for the Six Nations, but he's got to be somewhere in that conversation, unless they just don't like the idea of a non-Irish sort of someone who doesn't come from Leinster playing for Ireland. So he's definitely playing at international standard, I'd say, and he's again engine, speed, pace, consistency, everything that apparently we don't have, but we do obviously. The other thing I want to mention is Rich Lane. I think Rich Lane did 80, didn't he, after his injury woes as well? And when we've got Rich Lane firing, Noah Heward firing, Lewis Rees-Zammit firing, Revovo, I mean, he makes the odd mistake, but you would any team in the world would have Revovo on the wing. We've suddenly got we've got competition in the back three as well. And then you've got, if Boshoff, we weren't sure what, I thought he was ill, but apparently he had a moon boot on, but he's obviously pushing the door at some point. We've got Ibitoy coming back. Suddenly our back three options are looking extraordinary, and competition genuinely pushes performance, doesn't it? And I mean, that's just a nod to Rich Lane. It's
he had a great performance. And Moroni came on. It was odd, wasn't it? I mean, Bernard went off for some unknown injury. It was not mentioned on the commentary. We suspected a HIA, but I don't know. But then came back on saying he was all right. I mean, he's just hard as nails. He probably just,
as someone said, he went off to start the braai barbecue for in his farm because he comes from there. Yeah, so for the post match celebrations, because it takes a long time for it to get going.
And for people who haven't potentially seen it, I mean, it was a turning point. Rich Lane unfortunately got yellow carded in a penalty try. But on the 77th minute, when Bulls were actually pretty much about to score, weren't they? He did an amazing reach out and tackle on one of their forwards.
That was Yancey, wasn't it?
Yancey, yeah. It literally fell down to his death like a sack of spuds, didn't he? And I think at that point, if that had gone over, remember they were pumping our line at 80 minutes, it could have been a very different result. So, he is, arguably, you can't even argue, one of the best players, I think, in the world at the moment.
Yeah. And he's English qualified.
Yes.
Which actually, do we really want him to get picked for England, though? I'm not sure we do. Do we? If we want to keep all our boys nice and fresh for the run-in.
Absolutely. We're talking about
that
fresh.
Is true.
I think the boys, Pat alluded to, the boys are having a bit of R&R and they're out on safari today, aren't they?
I know. Yeah,
so I think, absolutely good on them. Take their spears along, where you just get Yancey van Regsburg, let him out the 4x4, and he'll just wrestle an elephant to the ground.
And then if they get an overnight plane back tonight, because there's no time difference, if it's an overnighter, if those things exist, they get a bit of sleep, they'll be nice and fresh for the week. But anyway, Mike Lee, you got one last thing before we move on.
Yeah, I've even got to remember that Bordeaux were playing Saints today as well. So
they are.
We've got 24 hours, game fitness time in front of them anyway, and that's going to be a really tough game. If I was around this afternoon, I would really love to watch that game. But,
it moves us nicely on to next weekend. But despite all our heroics, and despite the fact that we're 3 from 3. It's still very, very tight in our group. And I mean, we're on 14 points. We've got 2 try bonus points and we've got plus 62 points difference. Obviously, Saints and Bordeaux are playing each other. One of those is going to win. So one of those is probably going to either go equal with us or go 1 point ahead if they get a bonus point try. But Saints have got Scarlets next week. So at home, so you'd imagine they'd win that with a try. So even if they lose and get no bonus points, they could end up with 15. So if we lost to Bordeaux last week, we could end up third. Now we're definitely qualified for the round of 16, but I was just checking it because I've been on the rules website because it is quite complicated. But obviously, they rank after all the group games, everybody gets ranked according to, and if you are the pool winners, regardless of their points or whatever, are ranked 1 to 4. The second place clubs are ranked 5 to 8. So those are all of the home teams in the next round. So if we come first or second, we've got at least a home game for the round of 16. If you come third, you've got an away game, you come fourth. But then if you win your round of 16, you are only guaranteed a home game if you are the highest ranked clubs from the whole pool stage will have home advantage. So they then have the top 4 across all. So at the very least, you've got to win your group to have any chance of a bit. So actually, it means that next Sunday's game is an even more important game, because if we win next week against Bordeaux, then we will be. I'm pretty sure. Well, it depends, you see, because if Saints beat Bordeaux, get 5 points, and then they get 5 points against Scarlet next week, we may end up second, even if we beat Bordeaux. It's blooming. So the irony is, after that monumental effort yesterday, it's still got like another mountain. We've got another 4,000 feet of metaphorical altitude to go. Lee, what do you reckon?
Should we just take one game at a time, Pete? And
it's the next game.
If we can beat Bordeaux, what a sculpt that will be to go alongside the Bulls sculpt as well.
And also, you know what? We've set up next week. We've always talked about that Ashton Gate and the whole Bears revolution was all about having, big teams coming to Ashton Gate to play. We've set this up for being a massive game. Bordeaux ain't going to fancy it now, are they? Whatever happens today, they're going to look at us and think, and this is what we want. And not only are we... I know in probably early in the season there were people thinking, the Champions Cup, we haven't got the squad depth. Can we really fight on two fronts? But at the moment, we're suddenly at a point where I think we can fight on two fronts, and actually teams aren't going to fancy coming to Ashton Gate, and that includes Bordeaux. We don't know what's going to happen today, and we'll find out tomorrow if what it's going to be like. But it just sets up that game quite nicely, and the fact it's a 1 o'clock kickoff. You do wonder, you hope a few Bordeaux fans will make it over to, so we get a good atmosphere. And I think we need to encourage as many Bears fans to get down Ashton Gate next Sunday at 1. What else are you doing? Get down there, because you're not going to see, this is big clubs coming to our thing. Right, Miles, what are you going to say?
Well, just back you up. This is at the moment. This is the biggest club in Europe coming to our backyard, aren't they? We were just
to our manor.
To our manor, to the fortress.
We've got to rewrite history. William the Conqueror, he didn't have to win 1060 the Battle of Hastings, did he?
Our lads will be licking their lips. You bring those sort of French lords and ladies over to our literally fortress, our castle that is BS3, and there is nothing to be scared of.
These Popinjays.
We were looking at their squad yesterday, and you forget you've got like the likes of sort of Jalibert, Woki, Cameron Woki.
Sounds like the cast of Star Wars, the way you say it, Miles. Absolutely. What, you got Jabberwocky coming?
Jabberwocky. Well, you put them together, they'd be sublime. Some of the premium players in France and the French League and European League. But you're right. Today's game is quite pivotal, and all fans will have our eyes on that. But looking at how we played this weekend over the season, there is absolutely nothing to be scared of. And this is a massive scout next weekend. This is almost our final, isn't it? This is potentially, the way we're playing, the European Champions Cup final. We are playing so well. Get yourself down the gate. That's all I can say next weekend. Support the boys.
Miles, Lee, do you want to add to any of that? That clarion call from Sir Miles of Southvilleshire?
No, I think we're all in agreement. This is exactly what we wanted. Well, we signed up, to the all Bristol Bears ethos. We wanted big teams at Ashton Gate. We've been to Rotherham, we've been to Doncaster, we've been to Ealing, we've been to Hartbury.
You sound like David Brent when he's going, there's a big world out there. There's like Penge. There's like winners. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
and
Yardley.
this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, mate.
I know it is. And Pat, although it's about 8 years after he said we were going to do it like the year after, it is kind of what he was saying, that, you know, we are going to be like being a force in Europe. But I know there'll be people out there saying, boys, calm down. It's like only halfway through the season. But you've got to, you know, one thing we know about rugby, because it's so competitive, you've got to enjoy the apps. You've got to enjoy the quality moments like this. And, you know, there's always a worry that there are challenges around the corner. But I mean, this season just seems to be, you know, just is going on and on. And it's just, you know, the fact that go away from Europe, the fact that Newcastle have got a bit of a mojo going now, you know, Exeter playing well, you know, Bath are really having to dig deep to sort of maintain their status. No, I mean, actually, just on the last thing, one thing that's annoyed me this week, everyone's been banging on about Northampton Saints being like the best team. Keeps to forget that we absolutely mullered them at Ashton Gate a few games ago. It's like, you rightly say, Lee, that talk is annoying, but actually we don't mind it, just keeping us ticking away in the background as well. Look, boys, we've got only got 5 minutes left on the Zoom, so it's been a just an unbelievable sort of 24 hours really. We've got Bordeaux next weekend. We're going to do a quick live pod after the game because Miles has got to go to London for the Duchess is receiving some sort of honorary degree in something. So we're gonna be doing a kind of live pod from Miles's front room after the game next week. So I'm apologising in advance. It's gonna be raw, isn't it? Because we won't have remembered anything from the game. There'll be no highlights watching for us next week, but I'm sure we'll give it our best shot. And of course, if we see some people down the gate, we could get a few sound bites, couldn't we, Miles, to bolster the pod with. So if you you know what we look out for us next Sunday, and we might have our little recorder, and we'll be expecting some incisive. We could do some poetry slams, couldn't we? On the spot poetry slams.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, love that.
Anyway, anything else? Is there anything else? Any other business to attend to before we knock off? We can't really introduce any sort of goats. It would be very disingenuous to do that. I can't really think of anything.
They'll all be slaughtered today on safari, I suspect, those goats. So fair play.
Hang on, do they have goats in South Africa?
I don't know, what's their equivalent? There must be some.
Gazelles. They're the poor old gazelles. Yeah. They're the ones that always get sacrificed, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, we watched the game yesterday. There didn't appear, did there, Lee, to be any sort of knocks or big bruises or anyone really getting stretchered off. Thank goodness, you know. Obviously a bit of cramp, but crikey, you run around in 30 seconds in 27 degrees at high altitude. All three of us would be dead, wouldn't we?
Actually, I've got one question. I've got one question in the last 3 minutes.
I think the team look in a good, healthy place for next weekend. That's all I was going to.
Well, here we go. We're going to finish off with a game. It's like a one-word answer, all right? And I'm going to come to you both. So here we go. Thinking about selection for next Sunday against Bordeaux.
Sunday, yeah.
Going to go to you first, Miles. Marmion or Randall to start?
Marmion for sure for me.
Just one word. Lee, Lewis Rees-Zammit or Noah Heward?
Noah Heward.
Okay, what else should we say? Here we go. Miles, I like this game. Max Laheath or George Kloska? Tight head.
Kloska to start.
Get him in there, boy. Get him in there. And then I can't really think of any other possible because everything else picks itself. Genge, probably. Ogre start. Batley, Rubiolo, Grondona, Harding, Mata, Ravovo, Van Rensburg, Williams. Don't know. Lee. Last point.
I should just add, because it wasn't part of my question, but Heward over Rees-Zammit, but I do think Rees-Zammit will play fullback, and I think Rich Lane will drop to the bench.
Like it. But what a bench we're going to have. Whatever happens, we're going to have Lane on the bench. We've got Owen on the bench, maybe. We've got Randall or Marmion on the bench, Thacker on the bench, Laheath, Genge, whatever the way they work it out on the bench. Yeah, fantastic. Well, boys, that's it. I think we've done well there. I think we've done what we should have done. We can't. I'm sure the listeners were hoping to hear some sort of a debrief from yesterday. So I think we've done them proud. Appreciate you boys answering the clarion call this morning. Lee was straight in with the answer when I got on the WhatsApp, because I know he gets up at about 6 in the morning. Miles was a bit slower, wasn't he? Apparently, Miles didn't get out of bed till 10. It's a disgrace.
I had
You're a
quite a late,
teenager.
I know I had a late night, and I thought, I'll just maybe just go back to sleep. But then the cat sat on me and just tapped my head, so I got out of bed.
All right, don't talk about Wendy like that. Right, okay, boys. On that note, I think we should call it a day. So everybody, I hope you all enjoyed feasting on that Tri-Fest yesterday. Have a good week. Stay safe. And 1, 2, 3. Oh, the Bears.
Up the Bears.